Hi, so a few incidents took place recently, which I felt was a good reason to bring up a rather touchy subject concerning the subject of teachers and those teachers who really are being treasonous. I'm going to be very, very blunt and very direct. Now, I'm not going to paint all teachers with the same brush, because that would be unfair. And there are generally some very, very good people who go into the teaching profession to really help children. However, there is a bit of a big situation going on. And only just a few days ago, a friend of mine, a tutor, phoned me with a real problem, because once again, she's dealing with a young student where the school is intent on getting the boy labelled with an ADHD label. Now, this is in the UK, keeping in mind that currently in the UK, if you get your children labelled with a learning disorder, the parents get money and the school gets money. So there's a lot of money exchange taking place. And it is the same in the US, by the way. I think even worse, because when you go through this book, Enough is Enough by Barbie Rivera, which is quite recent, 2024, she's an educator, and she actually goes on about the various efforts of Big Pharma attempting to bribe her as a teacher to get certain children on drugs. So I think in America, it's even, the racket is even worse. Teachers actually get payment, accept payment for getting children labelled. So I wanted to just go over something here very important. This is a Lloyd's Encyclopedic Dictionary. It is 1895, and it is a definition of the word to teach. Interesting, isn't it? To teach. What does to teach mean? Actually, the word teach comes from the Anglo-Saxon, believe it or not. Bit different, not Latin or Greek this time, but Anglo-Saxon. So instruct, the word instruct comes from the Latin, but teach comes from Anglo-Saxon. Teken, it means to show or to teach. So this idea that when you're teaching, you're showing, which makes sense, isn't it? Because you're demonstrating and showing to somebody else so they can learn. And it goes down the line in Anglo-Saxon to Teken, which means a token. And from Germanic zeigen, which means to show. And here we go, to impart instruction to educate, to instruct, to guide or conduct through a course of studies, to impart knowledge or skill to impart the knowledge of, to give intelligence or information concerning, to instruct a person in the knowledge, use, management or handling of, to cause or enable a person to learn or acquire skill in, as to teach Latin, to teach music. And here we have more. To cause to be known, to show, to tell, to make, to know how, to show how. So you get the idea. That's what teaching is. So when we have a situation now where teachers' primary concern is the behavior of the children, and to make an effort and to try hard. Now, I'm not talking about all teachers, but I know many whose intent is, rather than teach the kids, which it's the definition of teaching, they're very quick to want to have those children labelled with a mental disorder. So any teachers who's doing this, as far as I'm concerned, they're in a condition of treason with regards to our next generation, with regard to the children of our population and our civilization. Their job is to educate, is to impart knowledge, is to develop the skills in handling things. And the teachers who are hell-bent on getting their kids labelled, they're not doing that. What they're doing is they're going to get those children hooked on psychiatric drugs for their entire life. They're actively working as middlemen for Big Pharma and for the psychiatric industry. They're basically being their pimps. And they are literally driving those kids to be drugged for the entire life. And I've discussed, and I will continue to discuss, the side effects of this stuff. It's horrendous. We have the mass school shootings in America. We have people unaliving themselves. We have horrendous side effects. I've read quite a lot of the side effects in various posts. So those teachers, rather than develop the skill for those children to grow and to expand and to be enlightened and to thrive, they're actually doing everything to crush them, because by the time the kids get labelled, they will be labelled for life. The label will not come off. Well, not in the UK. Once you're labelled, that's it. And then put on drugs, the side effects are horrendous and they're going to turn into zombies. So this is those teachers doing that. As far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't be teaching. Or if they do want to teach and they realize the errors of their way, then they should do everything possible to rectify the matter and make up and atone for their actions. I mean, I'm being very, very, harsh here, but that's the truth. Another story I've heard several times, just to give you an example, is, again, I've had several times that's come in the last year, students coming home or other tutors telling me that their students have told them that the children want to use dictionaries. They're trying to look up words. And the teachers are telling them that they're cheating. Now, can you believe that? And I actually had just recently a young person at university, and the professor was making them wrong for using a dictionary, saying that they were cheating. How can that be? Those people are there to educate and to help and to develop. And the dictionary is a vital tool to learn. And here we have those people actually actively preventing the student from learning. That's treasonous. There's no question about it. If your job has a particular description and your product, look at those teachers, their product are meant to be, well, that's what it's meant to be. Whether or not they realize that, I don't know. Your product is, what is it you're producing? You're meant to produce children or students who, finish the school with you or your classes or whatever it is you're teaching. And they can be competent in using the information. They can be bright. They can be alive. They can really create. That's what you want. But the education system doesn't want creative children, doesn't want people bright and lively and, running around and being creative and enthusiastic. Teachers, it seems, in some schools cannot tolerate the fact that children are being children and are alive. So they must crush them. They must make them sit still. And they must absolutely give them a label. And I want to point out here, this is a DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Learning disorders only appeared in DSM-3, which was a 1980 edition. There were never such a thing as learning disorders because obviously it's a complete fraud. And I want to make a point, and you can download this off the internet. You put DSM-5 PDF, download it. I'll give you the page. It's page 66 here, learning disorders. And here we have listed everything from inaccurate or slow and effortful reading. Read single words, aloud incorrectly, slowly and hesitantly. Frequently guesses word. Has difficulty sounding out words. Difficulties spelling. Difficulties writing. These are all skills which a child is meant to learn at school. I mean, if it was real school, real education, they would learn that. They're meant to learn that. And it's all English here. Look at that. Makes multiple grammatical or punctuation errors within sentences. Employs poor paragraph organization. Written expression of ideas lacks clarity. My God, this is what you learn in English composition, English grammar, English lessons. And this is being categorized as a mental disorder. And teachers, rather than teach, now it doesn't have to just be English teachers, by the way, it can be any teachers, math or whatever, rather than actually teach the children, rather than do what it says here, to impart the knowledge, to instruct in the knowledge, use, management or handling of, they are being the middlemen to get the kids labeled and drugged. What kind of product is that? So if I were a teacher, my product is I want somebody who's really knowledgeable, who can really use the information that I've taught them. The current teachers, it seems, or many of the current teachers, they want quiet zombies. They want a quiet room, zombies. And they are contributing directly to the destruction of our society and our civilization. So if you are a teacher and you're listening to this, you may not agree with me and you may be very, very upset about it. But seriously, if that is what you've been doing, if you've been looking in a DSM, if you've been trying to diagnose your children, if you've been trying to get them labeled, anything like that, then I would really suggest that you look in the mirror and really examine what you are doing. Because if that is what you are doing, you are not salvaging our society and you are not contributing to it. You are contributing to its destruction as a middleman of the psychiatric industry. Sharp as it is, harsh as it is, I'm very sorry about it, but you have to really look at yourself if you're a teacher and doing that, and knock it on the head. Either teach per the definition of teaching, or don't teach.